With the prospect of a price rise in October, what can the government and industry do to protect the most vulnerable when it comes to the cost of living?
Well, we are the People's Channel and we really care about what you think. And we know this is an issue that is very important to you, judging by the amount of emails and GB views that we get each day from worried households.
So we invited one of our GB News viewers onto the show this morning to tell us his story. Good morning to you, Robert McMillan. Really good to have you with us this morning, Robert.
Good morning, Paul.
Yeah, appreciate it, because it's 7:10 on a Sunday morning, so thank you. We do want to ask you about the cost of living and what you'll get your thoughts on that. But before that, I hear you're a former train driver, and I was just wondering what you make of the front of the Telegraph this morning, the government saying that they could introduce laws that would mean it's illegal to hold a strike for transport workers unless they have a minimum number of staff in place.
Yes, well, it wasn't what I came on for, but I think it's a bad thing when you talk about banning strikes, because you never know what railway workers would then be asked to do. And I'm thinking back to Nazi Germany, which is always the case I bring up. But you have to remember, railway workers have not had a pay rise for 3 years. And I dare say this is also about affecting their pension scheme as well, which is a pension scheme which is in the black in most cases. So I think it's a very dangerous path to go by. I am still a trade union member in the retired section. I've always argued for reason when it comes to pay negotiations.
Robert, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, we were talking about this headline this morning. We were saying it really evokes Thatcher versus the unions in the 1980s. It does almost feel like history repeating itself, this kind of rhetoric. You're obviously a fan of the unions. How important is their work, and do you think there's too much power by the unions in this country?
No, I think the balance is probably about right at the moment. But trade union work is very important, and particularly even at my age, in the retired section, where the trade union is still making efforts to care for my welfare. But as I say, when it comes to wage demands, reason has to prevail, because it's all being done on given money at the moment. The railways are not making profit.
And on the cost of living, Robert, which is kind of why you came on, and you know, the soaring energy bills, just to give us an insight into how it's affected you.
I've come on to talk about using coal, and I use coal in this house, and my winter fuel bills are still reasonable, because the coal has no standing charge. It's still available at a reasonable price, albeit that it has been rising recently, and it does save on other forms of energy.
The environment, does anyone give you any stick about that for using coal?
No, nobody gives me any stick in this part of the country. Other people are quite amazed that it's a brilliant way of heating a home, because it saves other fuels anyway. I'm not in climate denial or anything like that, but it's used very frugally on a quality stove, and that makes all the difference.
What do you make of our country's focus on renewables then, Robert? What do you make of that when you're saying that coal is so reasonable for you? We are in a cost of living crisis. Perhaps more people might be inclined to rely on good old-fashioned coal.
Well, I think that we should be moving towards renewables. I have solar panels on this house, and they're very effective. The wind generators are okay. They need extending right across the top of Britain, between Germany and Ireland, in actual fact. But we're talking about an interim period at the moment, and I'm saying that coal can provide a buffer against all the foreign powers from where we import our energy at the moment. And clearly, nothing is being done on this.
What would you like to see done?
I would like to see some strategic collieries opened. There'll probably have to be new collieries now. We could start with open cast. I would like to see pensioners provided with simple stoves, which perhaps heat hot water as well, and a designated insulated room where their beds can go. We're talking about a crisis where pensioners are facing hypothermia. That's what I'm trying to alleviate. Half a tonne of coal in their front bunker would alleviate any problems of hypothermia over the coldest months. I'm talking about extracting benzene from coal. I'm talking about extracting town gas, which could be used to heat certain large enterprises, maybe hospitals. I'm not suggesting that we convert every appliance in the country. And I'm reminding everybody that when they're travelling around, all the steel is made with coal, apart from a very small percentage, which is recycled from electric arc furnaces. And hydrogen is being tested as the reducing agent at the moment. But even by 2050, I think it will only make up 10% of production. So steel is still made with coal. And last time I looked, we still make steel in Britain, and indeed some of the finest steel.
Well, Robert, it's absolutely fascinating to get your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us so early on your Sunday morning. That was Robert McMillan. He is a GB News viewer, giving us his thoughts, his reaction to the top stories that we are running through today. Do get in touch with your thoughts on what Robert was talking about there, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Or indeed, if you'd like to join us one weekend and talk through the headlines with us, then do get in touch. We would always love to hear from you.
Yeah, really fascinated to know whether you agree with Robert on reopening some coal mines, effectively what he's saying, and distributing some coal to pensioners who are hard up during this cost of living crisis. Do let us know whether you agree with that or not.